Hi, one of my colleagues on the Freedom Yachts board asked me to provide some detail about the Dodger that I have installed on Jacqueline. And so I'm going to do a quick video to describe some of the features. The Dodger you see is like, I don't know, 25 years old or so, so it's in kind of ratty condition, but it served me well for a couple of trips to Hawaii, so it's really in need of replacement. But I really like a couple of the features, so I'll talk through them. First of all, I think the shape actually complements the boat. I don't think it's awkward looking, and a lot of people get concerned about Dodgers when they're, when they just poke out and they're super ugly, and I just don't feel that's the case with this one. The forward part of the Dodger has a cover, which is critical, window cover. You've got to be wearing that whenever you're not using the Dodger because the visqueen gets wiped out pretty quickly. These round circular windows, port and starboard, I think are pretty much totally useless. I wouldn't waste money on them. I have them because they were in the original. I covered them up and have never taken those covers off. The solar panel on the top is, as you can see, is kind of deformed. So it's a flexible panel, 100-watt panel, and it's basically installed on the top of the Dodger by means of a Velcro flap all the way around. This one is, the size is marginal. It shouldn't overlap the edge of the array, but that's the way this got produced. And you can see on the other side there a little bit of a shadow on the array. That's bad. So you need to, when you size this thing, you need to do it a better job than I did. I did sew the Velcro directly onto the array so that I didn't get much glue slippage. So that worked out well, but the size of the slot here, or the size of the envelope, needs to be carefully estimated. The other thing I'm not happy with is the sag in the center. There's no support. I've got a couple of fiberglass battens that run across the from side to side, but those really don't provide the kind of fore and aft support that this thing needs. Really what you need are a couple of rails between the two bows. I tried to get that done, but it was just too difficult with the time I had available. So the other thing you want to be sure you do is little flaps on your line flow through so that you can close those up, and that helps reduce the amount of water that comes through on a board when you get a boarding sea or splashing. The other thing I did when I had this modified for like the second time, I've had it tweaked a couple of times. I put what do you call them, baskets. You can see this thing's really getting torn apart, but I put sleeves, or I don't know what you call them, bags in the side of the Dodger to hold lines. The other thing that's been really kind of handy are these mesh pockets in the top. The more the merrier, as far as I'm concerned, although you don't want any right here in the middle. These by the way, are the side-to-side battens that I was mentioning earlier. The forward window can be zipped out, and you can roll this up and attach it in a rolled form so you get some flow through. That's really a handy feature. Don't go without that, because sometimes this thing gets mighty hot if there's not a lot of wind out in the open. Let's see, what else did I do here? I did also have them attach a zipper and a flap, basically a cover that goes back aft, so that I can cover the cockpit up, or at least a bit of a sunshade. So there's that. The way this thing gets attached is, of course, as you saw earlier, the snaps and buckles, and then there's a string here, a line that pulls the aft bow back and tightens everything up. It's kind of basic, but I sort of like it because this is adjustable, and you can pretty easily disassemble the Dodger by simply untying these ropes and letting the whole thing fall forward and then removing it from the boat. So I kind of like the removability option, to be honest. The bows are very basic. There's just two bows. Both are aluminum. It'd kind of be nice to get a little bit stronger bows, I think, but these have been fine. One goes forward, the other aft, and then, as I mentioned earlier, what I tried to get was a bow that went across. Two of them actually are supports to hold the panel up, but that was just, it got too complicated with the time I had available, and the vendor that I had do the last rebuild or resew on this didn't want to do it, so I gave up. But if I were to do it again, I would definitely have some support bars between the two bows, something that you could lock in. There's some bows that, or some bars that break in the middle, and you can sort of force them up and they expand they push the bows away from each other and kind of lock in. I definitely get two of those to hold the array up and to provide, to get this sag out of the bottom of the Dodger. The other thing you want to be sure you have your person do is put leather around these exit holes to prevent excess wear and tear. And if you go with the solar array concept, be sure to have your person put a flap for your power cords down. These go down and then go through a small entrance hole behind that flap. So it remains a pretty simple Dodger, but it's extremely effective. I wouldn't go to sea without it anymore. But as I mentioned earlier, this one's getting pretty old, so definitely needs a rebuild. But I'm basically going to just do the same thing with some improvements, primarily those fore and aft support members between the bows, and that's about it. The rest of it I'll probably tweak the detail a bit, but by and large it'll stay the same. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention is you want to think about the height of you can manage the height of the Dodger. Now, one of the things I'm not crazy about is I stand about 5'9", and the top of the Dodger basically is right directly in my field of view. It doesn't help that there's a little bit of sag in the Dodger top. That would probably go away if we put those supports in I was talking about. But you want to really think hard about exactly how high you want the Dodger to be. You get a little bit lower, and it gets to be you're leaning, or you're basically having to bend down getting under it. Like right now, you can see that's about the height versus my head. It's probably 3 inches below my head, which accounts for it being right in the field of view. But if you bring it too much lower, you're really having to scrunch down to get under it. If you take it higher, you could probably do that, but it starts to get ungainly in terms of just the appearance of the Dodger. So anyway, that's something to try and model if you can, and get that right. For me, I don't know. I almost think if I were to do it again, I might drop it a couple of inches, but I'm not quite sure. I'm going to have to play around with that a bit, but do think about it. So, and again, there's those windows in the inside right there. I'd get rid of those completely. You don't need that side view, as far as I can tell. You get plenty of it if you look at the glass in the main Dodger down here, and both sides you can see out the side if you need to. So I think those pieces of glass there, those little portholes, are useless and probably reduce the durability of the Dodger to some degree. So there it is, and I'm sorry about the rough nature of this video, but it gives you an idea of the features I have on mine and where I would make improvements, or where I'm going to make improvements when I redo it. And that's it.